Good evening, Chicago. Welcome on in to another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. The teams themselves aren't doing great this summer, but we do have some all-stars to celebrate in this town, and by golly, we're gonna do it. Shota Imanaga, Garrett Crochet, Angel Reese, they are all going to get their dues tonight with special kudos and paid to them, making their respective all-star teams, the National League, the American League, and the WNBA. We'll also talk about their teams, too. One of them actually is in a little bit of a winning streak, a minor winning streak, but it's still something worth some discussion and some talk. The other two, well, more of the same, unfortunately. And then there was a race in town this weekend. You probably noticed it, though the setup and teardown happened a heck of a lot faster this year than it did last year. The NASCAR street race went off, and we had a somewhat historic winner. We will discuss that as well here on the show. Plus, we'll see whatever fun and interesting different things come our way throughout the next, 43 minutes or so. You are chimed into Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, right here. Do not go anywhere. We will start right after this. And once again, hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnik. Glad that you are here with us for another episode of Chi-Town Weekly. Good evening, Jen Bryant. Good evening, Taryn. Good evening, Ralph. Yeah, we are closing in on episode 200, aren't we? Crazy to think we're going to be getting there. We will be very much in the thick of football season when that particular milestone rolls around. It was actually, the first episode was actually in August, it was August of 2020 when the first one was done, but we'll get to episode 200. That'll happen right around September or October is where it's going to fall on the calendar this year. So we will definitely be very football heavy when we get that far into the show. Very glad that you are here with us. Sorry for the little bit of the delay in getting the show started today. We were having some technical difficulties just getting all the equipment up and running so that you could see the show as well as hear the show. So sorry for the little bit of a delay, but glad that you are here with us. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the Super Mario shirt. This was actually, I believe it was it was either a Christmas present or it was a birthday present from my daughter. She's just starting to learn about video games, which is a very fun, but also kind of terrifying at the same time as a dad, because she's learning about competition then as a result. But Mario Kart is hands down her favorite game. So, to have a Mario, so to get a Mario Brothers shirt from my daughter is right up her alley. Right. What she saw it and just, that's gotta be for dad. So yeah, rocking the Mario today for the show today, which, Mario Kart, it felt a little bit like Mario Kart out there in the Chicago street race. We'll get to that a little later on in the show, but it kind of felt like that at times yesterday with the amount of cautions and crashes and everything else that was going on in that race. But we've got a lot to go over here in the next 40 minutes or so. Going to be talking a lot of baseball, talking both Cubs and White Sox, both sides of town, as the all-star rosters are out, so we know who their representatives are. We also have representation in the WNBA's All-Star festivities that'll be going on next weekend. Angel Reese just continues to make history, so we'll be discussing that. The Bulls made another move towards the full-on tank mode that is underway. So we will discuss the DeMar DeRozan sign and trade deal, and we'll break down a little bit of that race from this weekend. A lot to get through here in the show tonight, but we are going to start things off as we always do with a quick word from our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, eSports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be sure to check out both of our sponsors, Planet Jerky at planetjerky.net or over on Instagram at Planet Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You can follow them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax seals, or also go to our website, iesportsradio.com/seal the deal wax seals. So we get into the show, a quick note, the Chicago Fire, who are currently 13th in the East over in the MLS, they lost yesterday 1-0 on the road to San Jose. They do host the New York City Football Club, who are 5th in the East currently. Next Saturday, the Fire are 27 points back from first place in the MLS table. Oh, come on. That is a long way from first. It's very Cubs-like of them, which is where I wanted to start the show tonight with the Chicago Cubs on a little bit. It's a very small, very minor winning streak. Good evening, Drewski. Yeah, we're off to a little bit of a rough start with some technology, but we are diving in, and we're going to be determined to have some fun here over the next 35 minutes or so on the show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everybody tuning in live here tonight, whether you're watching on the IE Sports Radio YouTube page, any of the various Twitter accounts that we're on right now, the IE Sports Radio one, the Chi-Town Weekly one over at IESRC, or you're watching my personal page at Adam_Karnik on Twitter, or if you're watching the IE Sports Radio Instagram feed. Thank you for being here. And if you're listening later on in the week live, if you're listening later on as a podcast, thank you for being here too. I'm glad that you make time out of your busy week for this show in whatever form that takes. I am just glad that you are here and that I'm able to help in whatever way we can, because it's been a little rough lately for the Chicago sports scene. The Cubs trying to help things out, though. A little bit of a winning streak over the last few days as they have the night off tonight. They are in Baltimore getting ready to finish out the final week of the first half of the season before the All-Star break. They'll be playing 3 games in Baltimore, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they have 4 games in 3 days in St. Louis over the weekend, 1 each on Friday and Sunday, and then a doubleheader day on Saturday. But the Cubs, a little bit of a winning streak after 2 rough games against the Phillies, the best team in baseball. They took the finale of the 3-game set against the Phillies on Thursday, and then turned around and took 2 out of 3 from the Angels this weekend. So 3 out of 4. All right. A little bit of some momentum going in this off day, yeah, I know, Larry, you're holding on to that touchdown win on Saturday. I know you're holding on to that Rams 7 Bears nothing. I know you're holding on to that, but that's okay. The Cubs took the series, and that was the important part, because the Cubs haven't been doing a lot of that lately. I think they've only won like 2 series since beating the White Sox in a 2-game series a month ago. And I'm not sure beating the White Sox counts for anything anymore. It's roughly equivalent to beating a AAA team. And that's only going to get worse starting in August once we get finished with the trade deadline. But that'll be a deeper discussion next week as we get ready for that. And yes, the Angels were a little bit of a bounce back, though I will say I was nervous for the Friday game, because as we got ready for the Friday game, I was texting with a couple of my buddies about the game. Is, could the Cubs actually go on a little bit of a winning streak here? And then I saw that the Angels were throwing Griffin Canning, and I know that for Angels fans, Griffin Canning, what in the heck were you worried about? Well, nobody in the Cubs lineup, save for Cody Bellinger, had ever seen Griffin Canning before. And Bellinger was all of 1 for 3. So you had an entire lineup that was a combined 1 for 3 against this young man. And the Cubs have a thing for when they face a pitcher for the first time, they make him look like Cy Young. And I don't just mean a Cy Young winner. I mean Cy Young, the guy that the award is named after. The Cubs are notorious for just strikeout when they face a guy for the first time. So I was genuinely concerned. I actually chalked Friday up as just a straight up loss on the docket. Is up. Well, they're going to get 2 hits shut out, and that'll be that. And instead it was there was life from the offense, which is miracle of miracles. We haven't been seeing that from the Cubs a lot lately. And that's really what they need. Justin Steele pitched a gem on Friday, the first complete game of his career. He actually only gave up 2 hits, ironically enough, and just the 1 run. Easily the best start he has had this season, and finally got that first win of the year. But as we got throughout the rest of this series, and it really started in that finale against the Phillies, where Ian Happ had 2 separate 3-run homers in that game, we've seen offense all of a sudden from the Cubs. 10 runs on Thursday, 5 runs on Friday. All right, the shutout happened on Saturday, the return to form, but then 5 runs yesterday. That's 20 runs in their last 4 games. it's a very low bar, I realize, for a lot of major league teams to average 5 runs a game. That's not a super high imposing bar, but for the Cubs, that's a step. That's a huge step, and that's what this team needs to do as they close out this first half. And if they have any semblance of trying to make a run, and again, we'll get more into this next week. I have planned next week to have a little bit more, since we'll officially be at the All-Star break, to plan to do a little bit more of the recap and analysis and planning for the second half of the Major League season, as my camera is just taking off and going all kinds of places on me here. I apologize for that. But having this little burst of offense for the Cubs has been really nice to see over the last few days. We'll see whether or not that carries over this week as they're in Baltimore and then in St. Louis to close out the first half. The other bit of good news that came for the Cubs over the weekend was that Shota Imanaga was named to the All-Star team. And I wasn't shocked when the starters came out and Imanaga's name wasn't there. If this was April or May, I think Shota would have been the National League starter, as he got off to such an incredibly good start to not just the season, but his Major League career. But he is still a very deserving and worthy All-Star. You take a look at his numbers from the first half, and he'll have one more start. He's scheduled to start on Wednesday. I don't believe he will throw in any of the games against the Cardinals this weekend. I'd be a little surprised if he did, as that would be, again, we're going to do math off the top of our heads here. Yeah, even with the double header, I doubt we'll see Shota again. I doubt we'll see him in St. Louis at all, but we'll get to see him in Baltimore against the Orioles. 16 starts, 10 of them officially quality starts, record of 7-2, 91 innings pitched. So averaging just under 6 innings per outing, which anymore in the majors, that is a huge number to hit. They don't let you go that deep into games anymore, between the metrics of the third time through the order and the emphasis being placed on resting guys and just making sure that your bullpen guys that are getting paid so much more than they were 20, 30 years ago, you want to see returns on that. You don't let the starters go as deep into games anymore. So for him to be averaging better than 5 2/3 innings per start, he's going deep. That is the new deep into games for you. Only 12 home runs allowed to this point, and his Ks per 9 averaging better than a strikeout an inning at this point. 92 strikeouts in 91 innings. You knew he was going to make it. And it's so exciting for him, having an incredible rookie year. And we'll see what happens in the second half, but for the first half especially, no doubt this man, he is very worthy of being named to the National League All-Stars. Not a starter, but I would expect and imagine that he'll, being a rookie, being his first time out there, I would be very surprised if he doesn't come out for an inning at some point in the All-Star game. Good for him. Good for Shota. Very deserving. Very, very deserving. Props to him. Over on the other side, we're gonna talk about some White Sox baseball a little bit, and then we will take what will probably be our only break of the night. The White Sox, on the flip side, they did not have such a great week, unfortunately. They spent their weekend down in Florida against the Marlins. Yeah, they took the opener. That was good. That was good. Then the rest of it, not so much. And notice I'm just going to gloss over that series in Cleveland. I don't even want to talk about that. So Jen B gets to talk all about our Cleveland teams over on the Show of the Land on Tuesday evenings, 6:00 Central Time, right here on IE Sports Radio. She still does her shows over on Spreaker, so you catch her just as a podcast. Well done taking 2 out of 3 from the White Sox. I expected nothing less. We're just going to move right on. The Marlins, though, this was a series where if the Sox were going to take a series, this was going to be the one against the Marlins. And it's not quite how it worked out. They did take the opener on Friday 3-2. So, got out to a 3-0 lead. It got a little dicey there at the end with the Marlins scoring twice in the final 3 innings, including in the 9th inning. And it got a little dicey. Heck, the Cubs game against the Angels yesterday got a little dicey, finishing with the bases loaded. But after that, that was the high point. You had, again, the Sox having a lead and not being able to hold it on Saturday, falling 4-3. And then yesterday, yesterday. If you're just looking at the box, losing 7-4, that's not indicative of how that game finished. The Sox were up 4-3 going into the bottom of the 9th inning in that game. And they just were bound and determined to figure out a way to lose. And by golly, they did it. Exactly. As producer Larry's having some fun with the sound effects in the background there. They insist on figuring out ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Try this one, try this one on for size. You're up 4-3 in the bottom of the 9th. You get the first guy. Next guy gets on. But all right, you work your way around it. You get the next guy, though fielding blunders allowed the man on first to make it all the way to third base because nobody covered third base. Oh, yeah. Oh, the White Sox they're not just terrible at turning double plays, Jen. They are terrible. Jen B commented the White Sox are terrible at turning double plays. She was amazed at how terrible they were. That they're terrible at everything. They are terrible at baseball. They're just not good. And Pedro, unfortunately, was supposed to help that. That was one of the things with this team this year is they were supposed to be better at the fundamentals, but they've gotten worse at it, unfortunately. But so you wind up with a man on third. All right. Okay. There's 2 outs. You can still do this. All you got to do is get the next guy. A guy that has been hitting below 200 since June. And the only thing he can do is hit fastballs. So what does Michael Kopech do? Feeds him a fastball. Double off the left field wall. Tommy Pham, one of the guys that we're going to talk some more about him next week as his name is coming up in trade conversations, that this is one of the pieces that the White Sox might be able to trade and get something. Misplays the ball in left field, not his natural position. So I'll give him a little bit of that. And, he had to run and jump. All right. He mistimed it. It winds up being a double off the wall. The tying run comes around. All right. So the next man up is absolutely destroying the baseball. You don't want to face him. So you give him the free pass. And that brings up Jake Burger. As in ex-White Sox Jake Burger. As in You surprisingly traded him to the Marlins because last year's president and last year's general manager couldn't talk to each other, and the president went behind the general's manager's back and traded the guy without telling him. That Jake Berger. The same Jake Berger who said, "Oh yeah, I saw this series on the calendar, and yeah, I kind of marked it a little bit." Another guy who all he could do is hit fastballs. So what does Michael Kopech do? He feeds him fastballs, and Jake Berger destroyed it. 431 feet off of the backdrop in left. The center fielder Luis Robert gave it a couple courtesy steps, and then he was, "Yep, I'm not catching that one. I can give up now. Thank you." Sox fall 7-4. Hi. Just more misery. And the Sox now they get to close out. They get to close out the first half. They've got the Twins, my wife's twins. My in-laws are going to be sure to be enjoying this series as the Twins will take a couple here. They've got the night off, 2 games against the Twins this week, and then they host Pittsburgh to close out. Another off day on Thursday, and then they host Pittsburgh over the weekend to close out the first half. We'll see what they can do. The lone bright spot for the White Sox, of course, is their all-star representative. And Garrett Crochet, again, much like Shota with the Cubs, hats off to him. As bad as the White Sox have been, Crochet has been an epiphany this season. He has been, I openly mocked it when they announced that Crochet was going to be the opening day starter. Is this what we're doing here, guys? This guy who hasn't started yet in his major league career, this is the guy you're going to have start? All right. Okay. Well, show me what you could do, I guess. And Crochet in 19 starts, all he's done is throw 105 and a third innings. He leads the major leagues in strikeouts with 146. That 105 and a third innings is not just a career best for a season already. He came in with 75 innings pitched lifetime in his big league career. So to see him already have eclipsed the 100 inning mark in 19 starts this season, both the starts and the strikeouts lead MLB. It's impressive what he's doing. I know that he is the subject of a lot of trade rumors right now. And again, we're going to get more into that next week. Some of the trade thoughts for both sides of town. I genuinely would love to see him stay and continue with the White Sox. He's young, and you may have stumbled onto something here. I know that the White Sox are a ways away from truly being competitive, but Crochet gives you a reason to tune in every 5th day. So kudos and congratulations to Garrett on getting named to the all-star team. I would absolutely expect to see him out there for an inning next week during the all-star festivities, and deservedly so. We're going to take for ourselves a quick break, and then we're still not done talking about all-star nominations. We've got one over in the WNBA as Angel just keeps making history. We will break that down and discuss all that going on in Skytown on the flip side of this break. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
Hey, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen B, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. One more quick blurb for you here before we dive into the last 10 minutes or so of the show. The Chicago Red Stars, they defeated Houston 1-0 at home here recently. They are now on a break for the Olympics till August 24th. They'll be on the road versus Louisville at that point. They are only 15 points back from first place in the National Women's Soccer League table. So the Red Stars doing significantly better than their Fire brethren over on the other side of town. So probably one of the most successful teams right now in the running in the town right now. Talking a lot of all-stars this week on Chi-Town Weekly, this edition. Baseball all-stars in the front end of the show. We've got a basketball all-star to discuss as well, though, as Angel Reese just keeps making history. The Sky, unfortunately, they lost to Seattle last night, 84-71 on the night, but it was still a historical night for the Sky and for Angel. she had her 13th consecutive double-double in the game, which extends her own her own single season record, but it now eclipses Candace Parker's record for most consecutive double doubles, even over multiple seasons in WNBA history. So Angel just keeps making some history. She had a quote here. I wanted to pull that up and read real quickly here as I get that up here for you. Sorry, I wanted to make sure that I got her quote accurate here, and I apologize for not having it up sooner. But she was very humbled and appreciative of the comp to Candace Parker, but she basically said she's not there yet. There's still one other category that she feels she needs to catch up with Candace there. And obviously, championships are a huge thing anytime you're talking about team sports. So unfortunately, I don't have the exact quote there, but I wanted to. So I will find that for next time. I apologize for not having that up. But Angel Reese, and then she found out last week that she is named to the WNBA All-Star team as a rookie. And she was enamored, humbled, completely overcome by emotion when she found out. She found out post game of the Sky's game that she had made it. So very, very humbled and very, very excited to be there as an all-star right out of the gate. And why not? I mean, she has become one of the must-watch stars in the WNBA. The Sky overall are still struggling overall on the season. They currently sit as I pull up the standings right now. They are currently 8-12 overall. They are one game behind Indiana for fourth. They are currently in fourth place in the Eastern Conference. And overall in the league, they would be a playoff team right now if things stayed where they are, but they are also only just one game in front of Atlanta to be knocked out. They're a game behind Indiana to be the 7 seed. They are only one game in front of Atlanta to get just knocked out of the playoffs entirely. They do have before the All-Star break, they do have, I believe, 4 more games. 4 more. Yeah, as Jen comments, she sees Angel all over her Twitter feed. She is very active on social media. Absolutely. She is very active, has a very vocal and passionate following on social media as well. So yes, I'm not surprised in the slightest that you're seeing a lot of stuff from her there on social media. So the Sky, I believe they have 4 more. Yes, they have 4 more games before the All-Star and then Olympic break comes into play in the WNBA. So hopefully the Sky, they take on Atlanta this week on Wednesday. That's a big game Wednesday afternoon. They've got it's Wednesday morning. Technically 11 o'clock is when that game is. 11 o'clock Wednesday morning against Atlanta. Big one there to try to cement their playoff standings, if you will. And then back-to-back games against the Liberty. And then next week against the Lady Aces next Tuesday night. So 3 tough ones. Another reason why they've got to have that game against Atlanta on Wednesday. The schedule does not close easily for them in the first half. Back-to-back games against the Liberty, and then next Tuesday against Vegas. Just a couple of quick ones here before we wrap the show up here tonight. The Bulls, we know the direction now that they are going. I mean, we kind of knew already with the Alex Caruso trade and the direction they took with the draft, it got even more official over the weekend when they officially did a sign and trade with DeMar DeRozan. DeRozan will officially go to Sacramento. The trade also involved the San Antonio Spurs. They were brought in for cash reasons to make the contract work. So the Bulls signed DeMar DeRozan to a 3-year, $74 million deal and then promptly traded him to Sacramento through San Antonio. So the DeMar DeRozan era is over in Chicago. I feel bad for saying this because DeMar, he's a class player. He is a true veteran. There is not a single roster that he doesn't improve by being on there. And I wish him nothing but the best in Sacramento. But I'm trying to think of a better way to say this, and I just can't come up with one. I'm not sad to see him leave. The Bulls, they've been stuck in technically the middle, but it's the middle because the NBA just keeps lowering the bar on mediocrity, and the Bulls just keep sinking to meet it. The Bulls need to do this. And they got back Chris Durante and a pair of second-round picks in the trade. And Duarte he's a contract for them to eat. You know, a mid-20s, decent three-point shot, but there's nothing there that makes you go, oh yeah, this is really going to help the team in the here and now. The Bulls are entering a full-on tank, and I'd much rather see them try and win, but I recognize that they're just not in a position to do that right now. And they've got to go backwards before they can go forwards. They've got a first-round pick that is protected in next year's draft. They owe San Antonio a pick, but if they can finish in the bottom 8 in the league next year, they'll get to hold on to that first-round pick for another year. And for a team that hasn't had a whole lot of draft capital, hasn't had a whole lot of draft equity, you know, to get a couple of second-round picks, because let's face it, that Portland pick is just that Portland pick that they are owed. That's never gonna flop. That's never gonna convert over. It's eventually gonna turn to a second round way down the line. So this is a team that needs to get some draft equity, some draft capital, and unfortunately, the Bulls have just got to get bad before they can turn it around. And I hate to see it. I'd much rather they be good. You know, that 3 months when they were the best team in the East was a ton of fun. It's so much more fun to be watching and covering a team that's actively doing well than one that is going through yet another rebuild. But that's where we are with the Bulls. So I wish DeMar nothing but the best. I hope he absolutely kills it out there in Sacramento, and I hope the Kings do well. But this is a direction the Bulls had to go in, and at least they got something for him. At least they didn't just lose him for money. All right, we're going to wrap up the show here real quick, but before we cue up the music, before we do that, the NASCAR race, of course, was over the weekend. And gosh, first of all, if they can figure out how to avoid the rain with that, I'm sure everybody will will feel a lot better. But congratulations to Alex Bowman on winning the NASCAR Chicago street race. It was a shortened race due to starting on a rain delay and then having some crashes and some other rain issues throughout the afternoon. The NASCAR had a hard and fast cutoff that the race would stop by 8:20 Central Time. So they actually cut the race short, which made for kind of an exciting finish at the end. Bowman was able to get into a little bit of some excitement there at the end and had a little bit of a photo finish. But congratulations to Alex Bowman, his first win in the last 80 races. And Bowman now actually a little bit of history. Not only did he win this race, his last victory before yesterday was the final NASCAR race at the old Chicagoland Speedway down in Joliet several years ago. So congratulations to Alex Bowman on that victory. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Thank you once again to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. You can find them on Instagram at Planet Jerky or go over to their website, planetjerky.net. I would highly encourage and recommend the volcanic jalapeno. It is delicious and it's not overly spicy. At the same time, if you can't stand any kick, then the savory classic barbecue that they have, my wife inhaled an entire bag in one night. So I think that stuff's pretty good too. And also thank you to our other sponsors, Seal the Deal, Wax Seals by Cecilia B. Find them on Instagram, sealthedeal_wax seals, or go to our website, iesportsradio.com/sealthedeal wax seals in order to place your order. Thank you also to Larry B., the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio, and also for playing producer here on the show tonight. Thank you for that, sir. Your work does not go unnoticed, nor is it unappreciated. Finally, thank you to all the listeners, whether this was your first show or this was your 190th show. Thank you for being here, watching live on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. Thank you for participating that way. Or if you listen later on in the week on Spreaker or Spotify, iHeartRadio, Gio7, Deezer, all the other places where you can get the show. Thank you for being here. That means so much to me. Let your friends know. Let people know you listen to this. Give them the links at IESRC on Twitter, at Adam_Karnik. You can watch the show there, at IE Sports Radio on all the social media platforms. Let them know. You can share the show on all the platforms. Let them know you listen to this. IESportsRadio.com/Chi-Town Weekly. You can have some fun and interact there. Thank you for being here. Next week, we will be breaking down Cubs and White Sox first half and coming up with game plans for them in the second half. And then we've got to talk some Bears. It has been a while. We'll see you next week.